Bitcoin is holding steady, still below this key level here of around 61,000 on a confirmation basis. It still favors downside to support around 53,700. So now the one thing that would change my view, if it could close above this line at 61 and confirm, then it opens the door to go up to about 68, 69, maybe 70. But right now, again,
Bitcoin Zella stands out with its simplicity and clarity. We've crafted an experience that anyone can dive into, whether you're a crypto expert or just a new to the crypto world. Now guess who keeps his eye on us? The author of best-selling book Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. And we want to take this opportunity and thank all the people who trusted us, and we read every comment. And the best part, it's free. Subscribing now means you will get all new information for free. Don't just follow the trends, stay ahead of them. Subscribe to Bitcoin Zella today and enjoy the new edge. Let's join Gareth in this video about Bitcoin and more.
still weak positioning. And I did bring this up, I think, yesterday, which is, if you look at the S&P 500, let's flip back to the SPY chart. Look at this vertical move, right? Incredibly vertical move on the spiders, the S&P. All right, then you go to Bitcoin and you're like, wait a minute, what the heck? Yeah, it had a bounce. It was a big bounce, but it hasn't continued up. In fact, it's been going down. And so just something to kind of keep an eye on here is it sometimes seems like Bitcoin fits into the risk on category. And then other times it seems like, oh, wait, it's not risk on because it's not performing with the S&P and the NASDAQ or NVIDIA, as a matter of fact, right? And so it's just kind of still trying to figure itself out, which is okay. But as a trader, as an investor, this is where charts are so important. If you follow the charts, you don't have to be like, oh, well, why isn't it doing that? It's just like, well, the chart told us it never confirmed above this line, so it was still in weak form. And sure enough, it's come back in. And that's where the charts really are helpful to understanding. All right, let's look at gold real quick here. Gold is pushing up. We might touch 2,500 today, guys. Wouldn't that be something? What a move up on gold here. Trading at $24.86, $14 away currently from that 2,500 level. Notice the 25 even number is also the upper end of the channel here. So for me, I have a position long GLD as a swing trade in the service smart money commodities. I'll probably be selling into the 2,500 because it's a swing trade, which means we're in and we're out. But then once it pulls back, I would expect to pull back off that upper channel line. Then I'll start to reaccumulate. Might go a little higher than 2,500, I don't know. But I do think, again, you'll get a decent amount of hype, which usually marks a short-term top once it pierces that even number. Once it pulls back probably to the midline, start to accumulate again, low end here, accumulate again. All right, on silver's front, let's take a look at silver. Silver is pausing today. So again, notice yesterday silver was stronger than gold. Why? Because economic news was very strong. Now today, gold is stronger than silver. Economic news, the building permits, housing starts were a little weaker. Markets are taking a breather. And so silver is stalling out. But on a positive note for silver bugs here, we did close above this line. It is unconfirmed. So it's not a true breakout yet. It's still unconfirmed. But the fact that it's just holding steady, if it can just hold steady here, maybe it has a shot to confirm, which would then open up for a move up to about 31 and change this downsloping trend line. So at least it's a positive step for silver here. Now it just needs to get its mojo and confirm that it should be on its way. Let's look at oil real quick here, guys. If we flip over to oil, oil again, a little bit of a pullback the last few days until today, small bounce. I did add this new trend line in here. This is just a shorter term trend line, pivot high to pivot high here, here, and here. And again, that just gives us a basis for understanding why price is stalling here. If it can get above, then it goes to this upper trend line here. As long as it stays below, it could easily fall back to that 72.50 level of technical support.
Norway's sovereign wealth fund's significant Bitcoin exposure, valued at $144 million, appears unintentional, likely due to algorithmic sector weighting rather than a deliberate strategy. K33 Research senior analyst Fedel Lund suggests that Norway's government pension fund's increased Bitcoin exposure, now valued at $144.8 million, likely stems from algorithmic sector weighting and diversification strategies rather than a deliberate decision to accumulate Bitcoin. The fund's Bitcoin holdings grew by 160.7% since December 2023, mainly through expanded investments in companies with Bitcoin on their balance sheets, such as MicroStrategy. The fund increased its stakes in Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy, cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase, and Jack Dorsey's fintech firm Block, and also started a new investment in Bitcoin mining company Marathon Digital. As a result, each Norwegian citizen indirectly holds $27 worth of Bitcoin, illustrating how Bitcoin is becoming part of diversified portfolios globally. The trend of increasing crypto exposure is not limited to Norway. South Korea's National Pension Service, the world's third-largest public pension fund, recently bought nearly $34 million worth of MicroStrategy shares, further signaling growing institutional interest in Bitcoin.
And then natural gas is always a fun one, guys. Again, natural gas. I still remember we unloaded, I believe it was on Monday, we unloaded the long position on UNG and Smart Money Commodities, and it was a nice exit. And to be honest, it's lower now than it was, not by much, but it just shows you. I mean, yeah, you could have stayed in and you would have just been chopped sideways the whole entire week versus just taking the profits and being done with it. It's why the charts to me are so key, is they really help me just make logical decisions that are based on probability, right? And again, you can always second guess yourself, and half the time, I could have done a little bit better, but it's the consistency of just doing it over and over again that gives you that edge and confidence, frankly, and where you don't, you're not relying on emotion to make decisions. All right, couple other charts I just wanted to go over. Let's go over Ethereum real quick here. So Ethereum here, guys, does have a little bit of resistance right up here at 2,800 and change. So notice that, again, it's stalled out here. If it can push through there, it has additional resistance at 3,000. So there's a lot of resistance here on Ethereum. It is up slightly on the day. The one thing just to kind of note here on the Ethereum chart, if we zoom out on this, right? So you have a couple things to take note of. So there's a huge level down here around 2,000. And this would be a level where, it's not just one trend line. There's multiple trend lines, right? So you have a level right here we can draw in that kind of converges there as well. And even, to be honest, even you have kind of like a downsloping trend line here as well that kind of cuts right through this area. So if price were to get below 2,000, that would be a huge buy area for me on Ethereum. But right now, again, I still think there's a small chance it could still push up and test 3,000, but it needs the stock market to behave itself and continue to stay strong. If the stock market weakens, altcoins specifically do a lot worse overall. Looking at copper real quick, let's take a look at copper. Copper, again, this was an absolute amazing zone here. Look at the trend lines down here, guys. So you have this low to this low, and it came right here, this flat top right there, and that was where that support level was I talked about. We have had a good bounce off of it, but we are approaching a lot of resistance. And what a drop on copper, guys. Again, you could even put in this trend line too. This is another trend line that should be also respected. Look at that. So there's massive resistance around 423, 425 on copper. Now the question is, what I would say is, well, which way does it break? Because it's going to get sandwiched between these two levels. And does it break to the upside or does it break to the downside? Now, not the chart wise, we don't have a good read on that, right? So you got to just be honest with yourself. The chart is telling you you have some resistance just above, support below. We don't know which way it's going to break. However, if you rely on the macro data and the general prognosis for the economy, it would imply that eventually we break lower. And I will say this, like you look at some of these charts like nickel, even nickel's barely bounced here. This has been a surprise to me. But, I mean, look at the drop on nickel. Incredible drop. And then it kind of making like a little bullish pattern here, but it hasn't been able to break out, and it's getting long in the tooth here. And so on the nickel chart, it is kind of interesting to see that you're not getting that move up, even with the good economic news this week, that you would have said, oh, well, that's good for the industrial side of metals. Nickel should do well. And it really hasn't done much over the scheme of this last week here, over this last week run. So just little interesting things like that. Lastly, I just want to touch on one other chart. I was looking at Apple, guys, AAPL, into a lot of resistance up here. So just keep that in mind. I would expect a pullback on Apple. Incredible bounce, but look right into that pivot top. You can actually extend that line out right here, and you can see the low here, this sideways chop right in here, and right through this zone.
BlackRock is rapidly closing in on Grayscale as the largest holder of on-chain crypto assets, with its portfolio nearing $21.02 billion. According to Arkham Intelligence, BlackRock's on-chain digital assets are now valued at $21.02 billion, just shy of Grayscale's $21.33 billion. This rapid growth suggests that BlackRock could soon surpass Grayscale as the largest holder of on-chain crypto assets. Grayscale's current lead is largely attributed to its GDLC fund. As of Friday, Grayscale's holdings include 264,921 BTC and 2.292 million Ethereum, maintaining a slight edge over BlackRock. BlackRock has already overtaken Grayscale in Bitcoin holdings, with 347,440 BTC in its portfolio, compared to Grayscale's 264,921 BTC. BlackRock's success is driven by strong inflows into its IBIT and ETHA funds, while Grayscale has seen significant outflows. For example, Grayscale's GBTC fund experienced a record outflow of $19.57 billion, while BlackRock's IBIT fund attracted $20.37 billion in positive inflows since January 2024. With BlackRock's continued momentum and Grayscale's recent declines, BlackRock is on track to surpass Grayscale's total on-chain assets soon, marking a significant shift in the digital asset management landscape. If you've been with us so far, a big thank you. Don't forget to subscribe for free to Bitcoin Zella for your daily news. The link is waiting below. That's all for today's crypto news. Stick around for more updates, insights, and analysis on cryptocurrencies. Share your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more exciting content.